Cam Newton's body, right, with Lamar Jackson and Justin Fields' athleticism. Let's just try to imagine that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at me.
Benchmark. They're speaking the facts that you wanna hear. They're ripping jersey, the vision is clear. Diamonds glisten like a chandelier. You know what I'm here for, like Marshawn Lynch. At clutch time, we do not flinch. Real brothers, we do not switch. Hit home runs with the right pitch. Who run the city? What to do when they hating on you? I feel like Kobe 2010. Taking an L, all I need is a win. Business is business, you know how they go. They playing the seats, now it's time to grow. Tuning now, gotta be in the know. Showtime, bitch, my about to blow.
I ain't seen something else. But you was really trying to tell you.
Benchmark Podcast. What's up, bro? Welcome back to another episode of the Bench Mob ENT. We got a special one today. We got Brett Carroll, sports author, sports writer, co-host of the Dope blog, discussing other people's excellence. How are you doing today?
I'm good, brother. I'm good. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Can't complain. I wanted to have you on. A lot of our listeners, followers love the NFL draft. I'm not going to hold you. I got a newborn. NBA playoffs is going off. I don't got time to really dive into the draft like I want to.
Right.
So I thought, why not get somebody that actually dives into the draft and is smarter on the draft than I am? It's never wrong admitting that, hey, I don't know this area, but I know somebody that does. I.e., Brett Carroll's in the building.
Appreciate you. Here's the secret. Nobody knows what they're doing. That's that's the beautiful thing. Yeah, you know what I mean? All you gotta do is a little bit of research and you could do one, man. But yeah, bro, it's I appreciate coming on. I've always loved the draft. It's always, especially the NFL draft, it's like for a lot of people, it is their Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Like that hope of getting new players and having a new fresh face of your franchise, whether it be a quarterback, whether it be a new wide receiver, you know what I mean? Whatever. If you're like Charles, he likes the defensive players. So to me, when I just started sitting back and seeing what's going on in the YouTube space and seeing how mock drafts are just taking over, I said, well, why don't we do that? You know what I mean? I like to draft enough. I could do some research. I could watch a game or two more than I usually do. You know what I mean? Like, I casually watch on Saturdays. I could do this. And so, and it's a funny thing. I was telling Charles the other day, it's made me appreciate the draft process more because I was one of those people, and he's still one of those people, but I'm one of those people that's like, I never understood like why this is important. Why are we watching guys run around in tights? And why does that make such a big deal? You know what I mean? Like there's film, like watch the film, like, you know what I mean? But as I've really understood what this is, I realized, and I was explaining it to him the other day when we did our Giants mock, go check that out. People don't realize if you're a GM during the season, you're not watching college football, right? Like we got to think about that. Like you're supposed to be focusing on your team. You know what I mean? If you're the GM of the Giants, you need to be focusing on your roster and what's going on, who's hurt, what holes do I have in the roster, what could I be doing? So you might not be really paying attention. You have scouts, but you only have so many scouts. You know what I mean? And most teams specialize in certain areas. So, you might have a scout that does Big Ten work. You might have a scout that does somewhere in the South. You might have somebody that does something, but you don't know all the prospects. And not every year, all the prospects are from the same schools. So the reason why all these things happen after the season, these bowl games or these, all-star games, the combines, the pro days, we don't realize for a lot of these teams, this is the first and only time they're going to see these guys. You know what I mean? Like, so for us casual fans that got nothing to do on Saturdays besides mow the lawn and watch college sports, we're like, yo, what do you mean now that he runs a 4.3, he's a first round pick? We've been saying that all year long. Like, how are y'all just getting it? Or I don't care if he jumps high. The guy sucks. How is he now a second round pick? Because we've had more time to really, if you're a college football fan, especially where you are, like I went to Ohio University, I'm watching the MAC. You know what I mean? Like I'm blessed. It's on later in the season, every Tuesday and Wednesday, MAC games are on ESPN. So I'm watching. So I can say with confidence some guys in the MAC that are good and not good. Not every team's watching that. You know what I mean? On a Tuesday night, they might be evaluating their players and stuff like that. So I'm appreciating the draft process more and I'm understanding it more because I'm realizing how necessary it is. It might seem stupid to a casual fan because it doesn't make sense. Like, why this guy running a 40 time? Like, why is that important? But again, if I've never seen you play, really, and you've been to just NBA games before, it's different seeing stuff live. You know what I mean? Like, 'cause sometimes your perception is different until you really go into the court and see, like, oh, LeBron's really 6'8". Wait a minute, you know what I mean? Like, it's different on TV than in person. So like I said, I've just had a new appreciation for the draft process itself because I'm realizing, like, okay, some of it might be a little outdated and stupid, but I get why people do it. Because film really can only do so much, and there's only so much film on so many players you can watch. You know what I mean? Sometimes you do need to be able to talk to somebody, ask them questions, see what they look like athletically and stuff like that, and then go back and watch film and see if it translates. And you're still going to get it wrong, which is why teams get it wrong all the time, and which is why some of my mocks are probably going to be totally wrong. But it's okay because it's all fun.
Right. So you spoke about new faces and new places. Your Steelers got a new face in Allen Robinson. How are you feeling about that trade and your quarterback situation? I've seen you on Twitter have different input and views on your quarterback situation. I want you to break that down for me.
So I love the Allen Robinson trade. It was only a 7th round swap. So it's not like we even lost a 7th round pick. It was a swap. And they paid 10 of his $15 million contract. So, I mean, I can't be mad at that. If he's not good, he's only cost $5 million. If he's good for us, we got him for nothing, really. So, you know what I mean? So love that. I love what Omar Khan has been doing. He's our new GM. It's his first year. He's been with the team for 20 years, but this is his first year as the actual GM. So I'm liking some of the moves he's made so far. In terms of Kenny Pickett, I love Kenny. I just don't think we can win a Super Bowl with him. And honestly, it has nothing to do with him. As you know, the AFC is loaded with mega star quarterbacks. And when I say mega star, I mean mega star. Like, we had the conversation, me and you had that conversation about basketball, about how we have to redefine what superstar is and have new tiers. It's the same thing with quarterbacks now, man. Like, there's new tiers. Like, there's star, there's superstar, and now there's megastar. You know what I mean? So, like, and I think that's kind of the thing with Lamar Jackson. Like, I think most people look at him as a superstar, but they don't look at him as a megastar. But he wants megastar money. You know what I mean? And so, and the problem is there's so many megastars in the AFC. In order for you to win, you need a megastar. And I think Kenny Pickett at his best is probably only going to be a superstar. And so if you got a megastar in your own division in Joe Burrow, let alone the Patrick Mahomes of the world and the Josh Allens of the world and the Justin Herberts of the world, who's a superstar who could be a megastar, and the Trevor Lawrences of the world, who's already probably a superstar and could be a megastar. My thing is, like, Kenny, I love you, but, like, bro, how you going to compete with that? Because at some point, I don't care how good our defense is. We've seen it in the playoffs. If Mahomes is on fire, I don't care. You can have the 85 Bears. You're not stopping him. You know what I mean? At some point, I'm going to have to give the ball to my quarterback and say, yo, bro, you just going to have to outdo that guy. And even if he does, the very next week in the playoffs, I might have to give him the ball again and be like, yo, that's great. You did that against Patrick Mahomes. Be blessed. Now you got to do it against Joe Burrow. And then if he does it again, it's like, okay, great. Now you got Josh Allen. You know what I mean? So for me, love Kenny. If he was in the NFC, I would say, yo, he could probably win the Super Bowl there. For us, I'm just like, I don't know. And my fear is he's going to be too good to get rid of. But obviously, like I said, not good enough to win the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? It's one of those things, like, I hope I'm wrong because I don't ever root for anybody to be a bust, especially if you're on my team. Like, that's stupid. So I hope I'm wrong. I'm hoping there's just some intangibles that I'm just not seeing and stuff like that. But I just think he's going to be really good. I don't know if he's going to be phenomenal, and you need a phenomenal quarterback in the AFC if you even have a chance of making it to a Super Bowl. That's just how I feel about him. So,
Yeah, that's facts. We was looking at it last year. Like even our Aaron Rodgers coming to the Jets, that does not really lock a Super Bowl. It doesn't. Not in the AFC. Like, and that was the thing we was always talking about. I'm like, all right, I get it. A-Rod, you went out. You feel disrespected. They drafted Jordan Love. They don't appreciate you going on dark retreats. Cool, bet. Stay in the NFC, my boy.
yeah.
You the king.
But if you're the Packers,
NFC.
you're not going to trade him to the AFC. So it's like either retire or stick it out with the Packers. Because
That's the thing. Because I'm like, to your point. All right, A-Rod, you over there. You got Josh Allen in your own division. That's a whole other thing. Pat Mahomes, Justin Herbert. Lamar isn't a megastar, but Lamar Jackson, like, it's a gauntlet in the AFC.
we forget about Deshaun Watson. God forbid they unlock Deshaun Watson. Again, he might be superstar, not megastar, but still, that ain't nothing to sneeze at. You know what I mean? Like, it's not fair in the AFC. You need a Hall of Fame quarterback just to have a chance to win a playoff game. It's insane. It's insane what's going on in the AFC. It's great for football that we're having this many young, talented quarterbacks. But at the same time, the arms race, if you will, just became even greater. If you don't have that dude at quarterback, I'm sorry, you got to get rid of whoever you guy is. You got to get rid of him and get somebody that could be that dude. That's why, speaking of the draft, that's why Anthony Richardson is so intriguing to me, because his upside is he doesn't have a ceiling, man. This guy could be the GOAT, really, but he could be the biggest bust of all time. There's literally no in between for me. I think he's either going to be a bust or he's going to be that guy. I don't think there's going to be any in between, but if you're a team, you got to be very confident that you can get him to be that guy. So I don't know. It's the way I look at it. If I'm an NFC team, I probably don't touch him because I don't need him to be that guy. If I'm an AFC team and I need a quarterback, that's the guy I'm taking. That's the guy.
Anthony Richardson, that's perfect, because you hear, like you said, God level, and then you hear he might not hit that because one of the things that they say, his accuracy isn't really that good, and that's something that they feel that can't be taught. But they were saying the same thing about Josh Allen, and look where he's at now. What team do you think would be a good fit for Richardson? Like, I heard the Colts, that would be a good fit with Frank Reich over there. They got kind of like an incubator for a young quarterback.
Frank Reich's on the Panthers. So the Panthers are a team that, why not? You know what I mean? I know it might be a little too rich for the first pick overall in the draft, but that's why I didn't want the Panthers to move up to 1. I said, yo, if you can move up to 3 or 5 or something and get Anthony Richardson, I would have done that, because that is a team I trust. The way they have their quarterback room set up, if there's anybody that can unlock him, it's him. The Colts are interesting because I don't know who the new coach is, but apparently he's one of the offensive gurus as well. He came from the Eagles and he came from the Chargers. So he's worked with Justin Herbert and Jalen Hurts. So that could be a team that could think about it. Again, if I'm the coach, I might do it because you might need that upside. Again, if you're the Colts, yeah, you might be in the worst division in football, but okay, great. You can make the playoffs with any decent quarterback. Well, not really, because Trevor Lawrence ain't now, but that's what I'm saying. So, like, even then, like, you might need a guy just to get out your own division. So if I'm the Colts, if I'm the Texans, I might think about it. Now, in terms of who can actually unlock him, I think Seattle's a good spot for him because he doesn't have to start right away. I think Detroit might be a good spot for him because he doesn't have to start right away. The Colts, maybe, if I'm gonna, again, I don't know enough about their head coach, but everybody swears on his offensive genius. So fine, I'll take their word for it. The Colts might be good. The Panthers might be good. That's about it. He's very raw. He's very raw. I get it. I get why teams wouldn't want to. So for those that don't understand, let me just explain to you what this guy is, bro. He's Cam Newton's body, right? With Lamar Jackson and Justin Fields' athleticism. Let's just try to imagine that. Cam Newton's body with Lamar Jackson / Justin Fields type athleticism. So I'll say this: he might be the best running quarterback in football from day one. You know what I mean? So if you're willing to have like that, if you're willing to have like that Ravens style offense, then go ahead and do it, because he might be a superstar just off of that alone. Whether or not he develops as a thrower or not is irrelevant. But then his arm talent is there. He can make all the throws. He can flick his wrist and it goes 60, 70 yards. The arm talent is there. So he has the potential to be a phenomenal thrower of the football from the pocket. But he's very raw. He hasn't started a lot of games. Reading defenses is probably not his strong suit right now. So again, a team that could let him sit and learn the game without having to be on the field would probably help him. And the accuracy is up and down. But like Josh Allen, a lot of that has been because of mechanics. And to his credit, a lot of people have noticed that his mechanics are already a lot better this offseason than they were during the season. So he understands that. He recognizes that. He's working on that. So if the accuracy tip improves on its own just from him, working, and again, your quarterback coaches and stuff like that, and then the only thing you got to do is teach them how to read defenses, which, again, sometimes that's hit or miss. Some guys can pick it up fast. Some people never pick it up. And, football is kind of hard. And that's something you probably won't know until you get them in the building. I mean, I just said Cam Newton's body with Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields' athleticism, and then throwing the football, he can make all the throws that some of these other guys, let's just say Josh Allen. I'm not going to put Patrick Mahomes on it, but he has a Josh Allen type arm. That's the type of wow throws that Josh Allen has, he can make. So just imagine that Josh Allen, who's even more athletic than Josh Allen is, and but can still do the Josh Allen things because he's so big. He can still run you over. He can still hurdle you. He can still do the things that Josh Allen can do, but he's even faster and can juke you when Josh Allen ain't going to juke you. Josh Allen's going to run you over or hurdle you at best. Anthony Richardson can make you look stupid. And that's so that's why people are so fascinated with this guy, because it's like, oh my God, if we can tap into that, we might have the greatest quarterback of all time. But again, there's a lot there that needs to be fixed. So that's where it's really going to scare some teams.
Hey, it's scary just hearing that he's already improving on the accuracy, which you can say, for example, not saying he's going to be this, but like the knock on Jamarcus Russell was he wasn't putting in the work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's already putting in the work and he's not even drafted yet. So I think that's a good sign of what's to come.
Cam Newton, man. Cam Newton. When my Panthers took Cam Newton, I didn't want them to take Cam Newton because I was scared of Cam Newton. Cam Newton was so naturally gifted. He was a mega star just off of his thing. But he was another guy. I beg, please work on your mechanics. Please. Because with him, it wasn't accuracy. It was mechanics. He shot putted the football. And again, he was so naturally gifted that he was doing stuff in the NFL like with a shotgun type of throw. And I'm like, dude, this ain't track and field, bro. You ain't throwing a javelin, you're throwing a football. Like, work on your mechanics. And he just never did, which is why now he's at this spot where now that his athleticism isn't there, he can't play. And it's sad because I love Cam, but I've always had this love-hate relationship with Cam Newton because it's always been like, bro, you don't even understand how good you can be. If you're this good with terrible mechanics and because of that, fluctuating accuracy, just imagine how good you can be if you just worked on your mechanics. So I love the fact that Anthony Richardson is already hearing the criticism and saying, okay, if I'm going to make it, I got to be able to work on this stuff. And so again, that might be good enough for me as a team. Like, yo, at least he wants to work. You know what I mean? Because he could say, no, I'm that dude. I don't need to work on anything. I'll show you. I'll prove it to you. And that would probably make me say, yeah, no, I'm good. Matter of fact, go to my divisions team. You know what I mean? Because you'll wow us a couple times, but you'll probably be out the league in 5 years anyway, and we'll be good. But the fact that he wants to put in that work, if I'm a team, especially in the AFC, I might have to roll that dice. I might have to roll that dice.
Hey, like you say, if you got a quarterback there that's already starting, that can have him sit, roll the dice. Definitely roll the dice. Another quarterback I want to touch on that is getting mixed reviews because he stayed all 4 or 5 years. He's older, but they're saying he might actually be the most ready now quarterback. Hendon Hooker. What's your take on Hendon Hooker?
I think Hendon Hooker might have messed around and been the first pick in the draft if he didn't get hurt. He was having that type of year. The problem with Hendon Hooker is he is a guy whose athleticism is a big part of his game, and he's coming off an ACL. So it's one of those weird things where he's already older, and he's going to probably have to miss his rookie year because of the ACL. And it's one of those things where if you're a team, I don't know how you feel about taking him, because it's like we don't know what he's going to look like. And he is a guy, as good as he is, athleticism is a major part of his game, and you're coming off of ACL. So I don't know. I root for all these kids. I don't know these kids. You know what I mean? The people that root against, young kids trying to make a buck is weird to me. Like, you don't know them. Like, so I hope he goes somewhere. I hope he's good. Obviously, I also hope because of that, I also hope he doesn't go to a team in my division. You know what I mean? Like, you could go to some, go to Vegas or something. I don't care. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure about him. He was playing phenomenal this year, and he might have messed around and become the first pick in the draft if he didn't get hurt. So you hope he can bounce back, because you root for these guys. But you're right. I mean, you take him in the second round, to me, that's a steal. You know what I mean? With modern medicine and everything going on, I think there's a good chance that he could at least be 80% of what he was. Now you might say, well, he's not good enough to only be 80%. Well, no, who knows? He might prove us wrong. So, if you take him in the second round, I think that's a steal. If the Lions or the Seahawks take him with their second first round pick, I think that's smart. You know what I mean? Like, there's teams that have, multiple first round picks, or can move up in the first round and get him later in the first round. I don't hate that. You know what I mean? Now, if you're talking top 10, that might be a little bit of a risk because of the injury, but first, mid to late first round, and then, like I said, second round, I think that's good value for him. Because I do think he has potential. It's just a matter of the health and what he can do going forward.
I think that would be a perfect fit in Seattle.
Yeah.
He has already come out and said, unlike some quarterbacks,
right, I'll teach them.
No problem. Yeah, I'll teach him. No problem. Even if he ends up being better than Geno. Geno got his money now. He good, he's set, and he's in a humble position. So I think that'll be perfect fit.
Seattle will be perfect for any of these guys, man. Their system is set up where any of these guys could go. That's why a lot of people think they'll have Anthony Richardson, and that's when I'm like, oh, good luck if they do. Let
Anthony Richardson,
throwing to DK and Tyler Lockett and all these other guys. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. That's
the 12th man will be up again. If they get that, 12th man will be up again. Staying on the offensive side, I hear a lot of times the experts say you don't draft a running back the first round. But this year, there's this guy named Bijan Robinson. My gosh. I'm not a draft expert, but I've watched the tape, and that's a bad man. How high do you think Bijan goes? How high would you draft him? What team would he be a good fit for? Because I'm looking at, especially with the running back market now, Zeke's he trying to get somebody to pick him up. Eckler wants out. Productive, but nobody trading for him. Saquon, I want the bag. Giants ain't giving it to him.
Saquon, sign that tender, my boy. I hate to say it, sign that tender. You ain't gonna get that bag. It's such a, first of all, this is the year of the running back, right? Between free agency and the draft. It's not just Bijan, but the draft class alone has a lot of good running backs in it. So the Zekes of the world, the Saquons of the world, whatever bag you're getting, just take it, because unfortunately that's what you're gonna get. To answer your question, Bijan is that special. Look, if Mel Kiper is saying, "Oh yeah, take him in the first round," that he's like, "Yo, this is a bad boy." Because Mel Kiper is definitely under that. You don't take a running back in the first round tree. I think he can go as early as 10 to the Eagles. Again, the Eagles are They're one of those luxury teams. They got 2 first-round picks. They just went to the Super Bowl. Running back's probably like one of the very few holes on their roster. The other one is like defensive back, but this is a great defensive back class, and it's a deep one. So with all the draft picks they have, they can always get defensive backs later. So he could go as early as 10. I've heard as early as 8 to the Falcons. I wouldn't mind that, except I think the Falcons have way more needs than running back. To answer your question, he'd be a fit anywhere. He's that good. You know what I mean? Like he could be a fit anywhere. It's just a matter of who, what teams need what. I love him to the Chargers. I love him to the Cowboys. I love him to the Giants. If Saquon does leave, they'll be like, all right, bye. We'll get your replacement and Bijan. And I think that's great value. I told Giants fans a long time ago, drafting Saquon at 2 was a mistake. I don't care how good he is. You didn't have a quarterback at the time. Your offensive line wasn't good. You're going to ruin his prime years, really, because you don't have a quarterback, you don't have an offensive line. And here we are, now that it's time to pay him, you finally got a quarterback, you finally got your offensive line together. It's like, well, we don't want to pay you. And it's like, well, that's why you shouldn't have drafted him too, because you knew you weren't good enough to take a running back that high. When the Cowboys did it with Zeke, they literally were a running back away from being good. They just had a bunch of injuries that year, and that's why they were picking 4th. But they knew they had a really good team, and Zeke was the missing piece. And to his credit, he has been. With Saquon, there was a mistake. But now the Giants at 25, if Bijan falls to you, take him. You know what I mean? Like, that's much better value. You're in a much better place as a team where you can insert a running back and make that work. Even when we drafted Najee, I wasn't the biggest fan of it, but I was like, oh, okay, I understand what we're trying to go for, what blah, 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 blah. I don't think you shouldn't draft a running back in the first round. I think it depends on how good they are. And again, I just think it depends on your team. If your team is well-rounded and they just need a running back, yeah, go ahead, take them. If you have a lot of holes and running back just happens to be one of them, no, don't take a running back. Build your team out first, because yes, you could always find a running back to equal that value. I respect running backs, man. I feel bad for Saquon. As a Steelers fan, I saw what happened to Le'Veon. So that's what I'm saying. Saquon, just sign it. I don't want to see that. That still breaks my heart. Le'Veon left, and never was the same. You know what I mean? Because it is what it is. Like, so, matter of fact, Le'Veon was kicking in West Orange a couple times when he was with the Jets. As we were talking earlier about West Orange and all that stuff. But yeah, it's just, I don't want to see that with Saquon. I met Saquon, seems like a really good kid, really humble kid. Again, another one of those guys where I can see why the Giants took him at 2, because like we said, you see him in person and you're like, oh my God, you're a freaking nature. Okay. You know what I mean? Like I saw him out one day, like at a club, and I'm like, who's this big ass giant next to me? I was like, oh, that's Saquon. And I'm like, oh my God, you are a linebacker playing running back. Like, oh no. So you know what I mean? I get why, people take him at 2, because you see him and you say, bro, how do we pass up on this? But again, to me, it's, you got to be very in tune with your team, and where you are as a team. It's the same thing with quarterback, in my opinion. Like, I think this is going to be an interesting year, because our team's going to reach for a quarterback just because they need a quarterback, or are they going to do the smart thing and say, look, if one falls to us, great. If not, we'll figure something else out. That's my thing with quarterback. Quarterback is too important to just take one because you need one. You got to get the right guy. You got to get the right fit. You got to make sure your team is good enough to help support him. You know what I mean? Like, again, with the Kenny Pickett thing, my thing was, don't draft Kenny Pickett. You got Mr. Trubisky. If we suck for 2 years, we suck for 2 years. That's fine. Build your team around, because then if I have everything in place, then I could go ahead and trade, 5 first-round picks to move up and get whoever, that guy is a couple years from now that's going to be the next can't-miss prospect. You know what I mean? Whether that's Arch Manning or whoever. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather build my team around, and then when I'm ready, go get the guy, instead of just saying, hey, we need a guy, let's take a guy. and now we're kind of stuck with this guy for another couple of years. So yeah, same thing with running back, bro. Like, I just don't reach. That's all I can say. Like, don't reach. If you're in a position where you only need a running back and then one's sitting there with the first overall pick and he's that good, go ahead, take him. But something tells me if you're drafting first overall, you need way more than a running back. So I don't care how good he is. I don't care if he's the next Adrian Peterson. You can't do it.
No, I agree. I think within the first 10, you don't draft a running back. But outside of that, if you got an option to draft one, take him in the first round. Like you said, it all depends on your team and the structure. And to your point, a lot of people don't want to give him that credit. But Zeke being drafted to Dallas, he did his part for that rookie contract.
Yeah.
After that, it kind of went downhill. But for the 3-5 years that you had Zeke,
It was great.
he did what he did what he had to do.
And the numbers show when they ran the ball with Zeke, they won. So, you know what I mean? It's one of those things, like, I get it. That was a very rare opportunity when the team, where it made sense. We got the offensive line. They thought they had a quarterback in Tony Romo. Thank God they drafted a quarterback in the 4th round. But they had everything in place. They just needed a running back, and he was an amazing running back. So yeah, you take him at 4. So, but that's a rarity. That's very rare that you would be sitting there saying, yeah, I gotta take this guy this early.
Now, you said it's the year of the running back. The defensive back class is deep. Safeties. The class that a lot of people are having question marks about is the wide receiver class. They're saying it's not a lot of, we kind of got spoiled having a Justin Jefferson, having they all being in the same draft. And they're looking at this draft like, man, it's a bunch of slot wide receivers in this draft. And they small. Who are your top prospects when it comes to the wide receivers? And are there any this can be a number 1 wide receiver?
I think there's potential for a lot of these guys, but they're not the surefire hits like the Justin Jeffersons and Jamar Chases. I like Zay Flowers. It's weird. A lot of these receivers, if you love them, you really love them. If you don't love them, you hate them, right? So Zay Flowers, the comps are either like Antonio Brown or Tyler Lockett. You know what I mean? So Zay Flowers is a guy, to me, you need a receiver, go ahead, take him, especially if you play in the slot, play outside. I like Quentin Johnson, man, but he's my type of receiver. I like big, strong receivers. Now, he got a little Chase Claypool in him where he doesn't use his frame to his advantage. He likes to let the ball come to him. I don't like that. That's why we got rid of Chase Claypool. But I think, again, if he could go to a place that really knows how to coach wide receivers up and let him learn to really use that big frame to his advantage, dude could be special. But again, I don't know if that's a mentality thing. I don't know if that's a coaching thing. So that's why a lot of teams would be scared of that. But this dude could be special if he can learn how to do that. I like Jordan Addison. I do not want the Steelers to draft him. I will lose my mind if we draft him. And that's another reason why I like the Allen Robinson trade, because that tells me that they are not going to draft a wide receiver. And I'm like, thank you. I like Jordan Addison, though. I do think he could be a number 1 wide receiver somewhere. For those that think he's going to be Jamar Chase, Steeler fans, listen, I get it. I get it. But, I've ranted about that enough. I ain't going to talk about that anymore. But yeah, I think he's good. I think there's a lot of very good receivers. I don't think there's any great ones. And it's weird because this is a very deep wide receiver class. Like, there's a lot of guys day 2 that if you need a receiver, if you wait till the 2nd, 3rd round, there's a lot of good guys. There's just not a lot of those first round can't miss prospects this year. And like you said, we've been spoiled. The last 5 years, it seems like every year the class has gotten better. Like, yeah. Oh, what about this one? Oh, yeah. What about this one? Oh, yeah. What about next year? Class is going to be phenomenal. Marvin Harrison Jr. might be a top 3 pick. So, you know what I mean? So if you need a receiver, go take your little slot guy this year and wait till next year to go get you a big-time baller. But yeah, the 3 guys I think can be special: Quentin Johnson, Zay Flowers, Jordan Addison, Jackson Smith and Jigba. I feel about him the same way I feel about CJ Stroud. Like, are you that good, or did you have an all-star cast of wide receivers around you? You know what I mean? And we won't know until he's in the league. So I don't know. I mean, I've never seen a wide receiver room like what Ohio State had. That's for those who don't know, they've had, let's count the first round picks. They had Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave last year. They had they have Jackson Smith and Jigba, who could be a first rounder this year. And then next year, like I just said, Marvin Harrison Jr. will be a top 5 pick.
Guaranteed.
And then they got another guy, and I forgot his name. He'll probably be a first round pick next year. So that's 5 first round picks that they just had in the last couple years. And at one point, they were all on the same team. So, and this is why some people are looking at CJ Stroud like, yo, how did you not dominate? How did you lose to Michigan twice, by the way? Yeah. Like, it's just, you know what I mean? Like that, you won't get better receivers like that in the NFL. You know what I mean? Like, you can make an argument he was rocking with better cats than Patrick Mahomes been rocking over the last couple of years in terms of talent. You know what I mean? Especially at the college level, like, dude, like what? So for me with Jackson Smith and Jigba, it's just weird because I don't know. Like, out of all of them, he's probably the worst one. But that still might mean he's a dog. We don't know. They're just so talented. It's hard to scale. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he could be a bust. He could be the best receiver in the league. And people are like, yo, how do we overlook this? And it's like, well, he played with 4 other guys that could be the best receivers in the league. So, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, there's a lot of day 2 guys I really like. My boy Justin Shorter from Jersey. I covered him when he was when he went to South Brunswick High School out of Florida. He went to Penn State, went to Florida. He'll be a late round guy, 6th, 7th round. He's just a guy that I want to shout out and hope that he plays well because, you know, I would root for the Jersey kids. Who else do I really like? Josh Downs is good from UNC. And again, more of a slot guy. So to your point, I think that's really what it is. A lot of these guys are just slot guys, but we've seen with Cooper Kupp, you got a phenomenal slot guy. That's a mismatch nightmare. So some of these guys, you know, take them. But yeah, it's a lot of slot receivers, a lot of day 2 guys. There's a whole bunch of them that, depending on the team, I think really like Rashee Rice. I like him a lot. Out of SMU. There's a lot of guys, man. There's a lot of guys. If you need a receiver, you can find one. This just won't be first round talent, and that's okay. Like, not everybody's gonna be a first round pick.
Yeah, if you build your team up and you got options wide receiver wise, like you said, a good coach is going to figure out the matchups. Like, all right, you build your best here in the slot. We're going to put you in on this package. We're going to have you just be a returner and you explosive on that. And like, they'll figure it out. And you always can have wide receivers.
And also, let's not forget, there's a lot of teams like my Steelers, like the Packers. They've lived on day 2 receivers. Like, yo, we don't need to take a guy in the first round. We can take a guy because really, if you're a 2nd round pick, you probably have first round talent. There's probably just something there that's just missing. If we could bring you in and coach you up, again, Devontae Adams, 2nd round guy. You know what I mean? You know, George Pickens, my guy, 2nd round guy. I think he's gonna be phenomenal in the league. You know what I mean? So, so if you need a receiver and you take one in the 2nd or 3rd round, don't fret. They can still be a really, really good player. You probably just got to coach them up a little bit. So,
on the defensive side, we're gonna touch the defensive backs. We're gonna touch some of the edge rushers, of course. But do you think, with all the off the field stuff with Jalen Carter, do you think he drops his draft stock where we see he's out of the first round? Or
no, not out of the first round. He's too talented. Out of the top 10, maybe. Out of the top 10, maybe. For me with Jalen, it just feels like every day is something different. You know what I mean? He had the incident, then he didn't have a good pro combine, and then apparently he didn't have a good pro day.
They said he showed up like definitely overweight.
Yeah, then apparently he's talking about he's not even visiting teams outside the top 10, which I think like that might piss people off, bro. I don't know if you're in a position to kind of, you know, put yourself out there like that. If you didn't have any, you know, off the field incidents, I would agree with you. I wouldn't even take visits outside the top 5 for real. But for you to sit there and say, "Oh, I'm still a top 10 pick," like, bro, you're not in the position to say that right now. You're at the mercy of people overlooking your character, and this isn't helping. We saw it last year with Kayvon Thibodeau. Homeboy just said, yo, man, I just want to have a backup plan. And he dropped a 5. You actually, had a crime or were involved in some stuff, and you don't think you're gonna drop. Like that's a little silly, bro. I don't know. Hey, listen, in an ideal scenario, if he wants to drop to 17 so he can come play for the Steelers.
That would be wild.
I'm not gonna complain about that. And he'll be motivated because he dropped that far. I mean, who am I to negotiate with destiny? You know what I mean? If that were to happen, but I don't see. I think his floor is the Eagles. I think if he's there at 10, you got to take him. You know what I mean? Like, Howie Roseman loves to have a nasty defensive line. They already have what's my boy from Georgia last year that they took? I can't remember. Jordan something. They took him last year and he was pretty good for them. So having both of them on the same defensive line again, because they were in college together at Georgia, I think Howie Roseman would love that. So I don't think he falls past 10. That's me personally. I think the talent is way too good. Before all the incidents, I was saying I would take him over Will Anderson. And not because I think he's better than Will Anderson, just because this is such a deep edge rushing class and it's a horrible defensive tackle draft. If I have two guys that are special difference makers at the same position, I'll take the guy that's way above everybody else than the guy that's maybe a little bit better than everybody else. So, again, I don't root for any of these guys to fail. So I hope he still goes high. I hope this is still a humbling experience for him and he just gets his life together. Because again, we're fans, bro. I don't want to be robbed of great play. I don't want to look back like, remember Jalen Carter? Dang, he was supposed to be so good. What happened? You know what I mean? Like, nah, I want to, again, especially not in my division. Not in my division. But if he could go to some NFC team and wreck have it over there for Aaron Donald 2.0 type of thing, like that's cool. Like that, we as fans win. You know what I mean? That's why I don't understand when people root against these kids. Like, as a fan, you win when you get to put them on your fantasy team, you win. So I hope nothing but the best for him. But I can't see him falling past 10. The talent is just too good. And again, if you're the Eagles, that's a luxury pick. And it's something that you kind of need / want anyway. Go ahead and do it.
Yo, any team that gets him, if you're talking about the Eagles, if he drops to the Steelers somehow, that's going to make those defenses even scarier. And then for the Eagles, come on, man. If y'all able to get that type of talent on a rookie contract with Jalen Hurts still and the rest of that roster.
And he still might be motivated because I'm sure he thinks of himself as a top 5 pick because he should be. Like, come on, man.
That's going to be scary. Like, who are some of the other, you mentioned Will Anderson. Obviously, those are 2 big names. Who are some of the other edge rushers out there that the casual fan may not know about, but they're going to be legit in the league?
I love BJ Ojolari. He's a guy that's like more of a second round guy, but if you could get him in the second round, I would be hyped. Lucas Van Ness has been flying up draft boards. I'll be lying. I haven't seen him that much, so I'm just taking people's word on it that he's this special guy. There's a lot of Isaiah McGuire is a guy that if you get him later on in a 3rd, 4th round, that could be a steal. He's got first-round talent. He just kind of needs to be coached up a little bit. Will McDonald's good. There's really too many to name, bro. Like if you get, I think it's gonna be very rare if somebody gets an edge rusher that I'm gonna say, "Ooh, that's a bad pick." You know what I mean? Like it's gonna be very rare that I say that. Anybody that takes one, I'm probably going to wince depending on what the team it is. You know what I mean? If it's the Chiefs or the Ravens or somebody, I'm like, man, that sucks. Isaiah Foskey is an interesting one where Andre Carter is an interesting one. I think it just depends on who you like. You know what I mean? Like there's so many that are special talents, at least special athletic talents that you can mold. There's a lot of guys like Tyree Wilson that's so big and dominant, they can play inside or outside. Like it's this is a very interesting draft where there's a lot of just big dudes that are just athletic freaks that you can play. I'm telling you right now, the team to look out for is Seattle, man. if Seattle doesn't take a quarterback, and I've been doing this in my mocks, if they go like double defensive line or edge D tackle or something like that, and Pete Carroll can like play it, because you know Pete Carroll likes those athletes that he can just put anywhere. There's a lot of guys in this draft, and I can see Pete Carroll saying, "Yo, we got a bunch of draft picks. I'm just gonna grab as many defensive athletes as I can and just play mix and match and see how ridiculous our defensive line can be." So Seattle is a team that would scare me, because I can see Pete Carroll just go mad scientist and saying, "Yeah, give me that guy and give me that guy and give me that guy, and I'll figure out what to do with them. But just give me all of them, and we'll go from there." So
Yes, Seattle could be a team where they make a deep playoff run like next year. Like
the Eagles are another one. The Eagles got 2 first-round picks, and you know Howie Roseman loves his defensive line. He can say, "Wait a minute, let me get Jalen Carter at 10, because y'all idiots let him fall to us. And then at 31, somebody else will fall to him, and he'll like say, I got my defensive tackle. Now let me get this edge rusher." But, I mean, there's some teams that can be scary if they double up on these pass rushers.
Hey man, when you talking about the Eagles, I hope they are able to continue drafting correctly, just for Jalen Hurts' purposes, man. He got the big contract. I'm happy
Congratulations.
for him. That couldn't happen to somebody more
Deserving.
deserving.
Mm-hmm.
Like you look back at, he got benched and did not, which at that age it showed his maturity. Did not pout. Did not get in the interviews like, "Oh, I shouldn't have got benched." This, that, and the third. Professional back then to now to this point where last year they was questioning even if Jalen Hurts was supposed to be the quarterback for the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
This money and it be negotiated by Nicole Lynn with a whole female squad representing him.
Tough.
I love it.
Hey,
Even
remember,
doing it.
they came into this year with 2 first-round draft picks just in case they had to trade up to get a quarterback. And he not only did he prove them wrong, he got a bag. So good for him, man. Like you said, there's nobody's more deserving. You root for guys like that because it just shows if you're humble and if you do the right thing, God always gonna find a way to bring it back around, bro. You know what I mean? Like if you're doing the right things in life and you stay grounded in who you are and what you're about, God has a funny way of just making it all come together at once. You know what I mean? Like, phenomenal year, MVP caliber year, in the Super Bowl, played phenomenal, and now he got a bag. Now he got a bigger bag. He got the bag Lamar Jackson's been looking for. Who would have thought? You know what I mean? Like, so, good for him, bro.
Facts. Defensive backs. We're gonna close off the draft aspect with them. Who are you looking at? This is a deep class. Who are you looking at defensive backs wise?
Hey,
Top 5, whoever you looking at.
football gods, all I ask is Joey Porter Jr., baby. That's I don't ask for much. I come humble. I'm on my knees. I'm praying. I go to football church every Sunday. JPJ, bring him home, man. Keep him home. Dude, listen, even if it's not JPJ, I love this cornerback class, dude. I personally love this cornerback class. This is, to me, there are maybe 7, 8 guys that could go in the first round that I have first round grades on. I'm gonna forget people, but we're talking Christian Gonzalez, JPJ, Deontay Banks, Devin Witherspoon. I still really like oh boy, what's my man's name from South Carolina? There's 2. There's Darius Rush, but he's a later guy. Oh, Cam Smith. Cam Smith. He'll probably go in the second round, but I still think he could be a first rounder. Who else? I know I'm missing people. Manuel Forbes will probably go in the second round, maybe late first. There's just wait. I can't even think of so many. There's so many. But if you need a corner, there's somebody there for you. And there's so many really good ones, and they're all unique. They all have different skill sets. So it's really going to depend on fit and everything else. I want JPJ, but if we get a corner at 17, I'll probably be okay with it. I say that, but it's the Steelers. They might take some guy. I'm like, who? Like, Brett Carroll wait, I'm not even in the draft. How you take me at 17? You know what I mean? But at whoever they take at 17, if it's a corner, I'll probably be okay with it. That's how good this draft class is. JPJ is obviously the homegrown hero. His father played for us, won a Super Bowl with us. That's the guy we would want. But again, if you tell me, oh man, you didn't get him, but you settled for Deonte Banks, or you settled for Devin Witherspoon, or you settled for Christian Gonzalez, I'll go, oh no, my heart. Oh, the shame, the torture. So as long as they take a corner at 17, I'm gonna be a happy man. So there's so many good ones. In the second round, there's a bunch of guys, like I said, Cam Smith and Manuel Forbes, and Tyreek Stevenson from Miami. There's so many corners. Jalen Jones is a guy that for some reason has like fallen off the map. And I'm like, why? I get it. He ran a little slow at the combine. Okay, I get it. It was a bad day. All right. He might have been cramping up. We don't know. But if you get him in the second or third round, to me, that's a steal, because he was a guy that was getting first round hype before the combine. So if you get him, and he's a big, strong corner, again, I love that. So if you get him in the second or third round, to me, that's a steal. There's so many guys. I literally can't name any. Like again, there's 8 to 10 guys that if they went in the first round, I would not be surprised, because the upside's just there. It's a great class, man. I'm a Steelers fan. I love defense. So the fact that we're getting back to a defensive-minded draft where it's the edge rushes, it's the corners, it's the linebackers, even the tight ends. Like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Smash mouth football. Let's do it. Let's beat these quarterbacks up, these pretty boy quarterbacks. Nah, let's hit them. Let's put them in the dirt. You know what I mean? Like, I love it. I hope the Steelers go all defense in this draft. Now that we got Allen Robinson and everything, I know we still need some tackles. Screw that, man. Let's go all defense. I want Blitzburg back. You know what I mean? And I'm excited about my Steelers. We have 4 picks in the first 85 picks. You know what I mean? Like, that's unheard of in Pittsburgh. So like, I'm nervous because I'm like, yo, they almost can't mess this up. But at the same time, I feel like the more I keep saying it, the more they'll figure out a way to mess this up. And I'm just like, But again, I like what Omar Khan has done so far. So I'm optimistic. And the fact that they got Allen Robinson tells me they're not going to get Jordan Addison. That was the only thing that was going to make me jump out the window. You know what I mean? It is what it is.
Break down for me, though, for those that may not have seen his film. Obviously, like you said, homegrown. His father played for the team. But what makes Joey Porter Jr. so good?
Again, big for the position, but he's still athletic. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that's probably like, I mentioned Jalen Jones before. I think that's the problem. Like, he's a big, strong corner, but he's not as athletic as people thought he was, right? JPJ is not as big as him, but he's still big enough to play the position, and he's fast. He's athletic. He's got natural coverage skills. He's physical. He can tackle. Again, if you're a Steeler, people don't know. If you're a Steeler, we're not going to take the Deion Sanders of the world. If you're a corner on Pittsburgh, you need to be able to tackle. You know what I mean? So he's just a football player, man. You know what I mean? Like, he's just a football player. And again, he's big and strong and still fast enough to keep up with these guys. He's to me, he's a perfect corner. You know what I mean? Like, he's what you want in a corner. And there's a lot of guys like that. There's a lot of big corners in this draft. There's a lot of small guys too, but like, it depends on your fit. Whatever you like, there's at least 3 or 4 guys that fit that mold. And that's why I think this is going to be an amazing class. And it's going to be interesting. There's either going to be a run on cornerbacks early because there's so many and people are like, yo, I want to get my guy. Or I can see a lot of these guys falling because teams are like, well, we know we could get a corner later. Let's pick this first. You know what I mean? So that's kind of going to be the most interesting thing. Do we see corners fly off like hotcakes? You know what I mean? By 17, there's a chance that 5 guys are gone already at the corner position, and we might have to take a tackle. And I might just say, hey, listen, it's not that you didn't take JPJ. He went 5. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. So it's going to be interesting. Do they go early, or do people wait on it and say, look, we can get a good one in the second and third round. We'll take someone else. Although statistics say corner is one of those things you're have a much higher chance of hitting on them if they go in the first. So we'll see. So that, those are for the analytic people. I don't really dabble in that, but
Oh man, we gonna close off again. We got Brett Carroll on with us from the Dope Blog. We appreciate him
Appreciate
taking
you
time
guys,
out of his
man.
schedule. This isn't draft related, but it could be draft related because he might get traded. What's your thoughts on the Lamar situation and the Ravens? And does he get his contract fully guaranteed? Is this a fight that he shouldn't be fighting? What's your takes on it? And what do you think ultimately happens?
Okay, my take on it is I think he's doing the right thing, right? You try to get your money when you can get your money. I think he's gonna come back at this point because I don't think you sign OBJ unless you think that means Lamar's coming back. I think teams are hesitant to take him because one, like I said, I think people look at him as a superstar, not a megastar. But also, to be fair to teams, and I'll be fair, you do have to not only pay him, but then you're gonna have to give up 2 first-round picks, and then you're probably gonna have to change your offense around. That's a lot for one guy to do, especially if you look at him as a superstar and not a megastar. If this is somebody else, we're not even having this conversation. What I really wish would have happened, and I know Jalen Hurts is not the type of guy to do this, so it is what it is. But I was really hoping that Lamar Jackson colluded with Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert and say, yo, y'all, it ain't me. It's got to be y'all. Demand a fully guaranteed contract. If we're going to do it, this is our time. If there's ever going to be a time to do it, because even Jalen Hurts, you went to the Super Bowl, but if Joe Burrow comes and says, yo, I still want that fully guaranteed contract, if you're the Bengals, how do you say no to that? You know what I mean? Like, you haven't won a playoff game in 30 years. He took you to the Super Bowl and then took you back to the AFC title game. Like, so if I'm Lamar, just like these owners are colluding to say, yo, let's not do this. If I'm the players, let's start colluding and coming together and say, yo, man, let's work together to get this bread. Now, again, I don't know if Joe Burrow's the type of person to demand something like that. He's also comes from humble beginnings. Shout out Athens, Ohio. Shout out Ohio University. And I don't think he's that person to do it. But if I'm Lamar, that's the first person I'm calling. Yo, Joe, listen, we can change the NFL. It ain't gonna be me. It's gonna have to be you. And then Justin is gonna have to be you. And then I'll come back and say, well, now that they got it, if I'm Joe Burrow, I'm saying, yo, you know what? That 250 that Lamar want, that 230 that Lamar want, I want 250. And you better pray you give it to me before he get his. Because if he get his first, it go up to 270. And if Justin Herbert get his before mine, it go up to 300. So I suggest you just give me that 250 right now, Playboy. If I'm Joe Burrow, that's what I would do. Not for me, but for the sake of the league. But I don't think it's gonna happen. I think teams are banking on the fact that Jalen Hurts was never gonna ask for that, or Joe Burrow would never ask for that. And I don't know anything about Justin Herbert. I don't know if he would ask for that or not. But I think they're banking on the fact that they would never even ask. But I wish the players would do that more, man. Work together. These owners do it against y'all. Do it for yourself, because especially that's why the CBA don't work. Because there's only so many. We forget that as fans, most players aren't superstars. So the reason why the players always get screwed is because most players are like, yo, bro, I got to make sure we get our money somehow. I don't care if it's perfect. Let's just sign this contract with the CBA so we can get paid, because I can't afford to miss work. This is one of the rare times the superstars can actually do something to fix it. Where it's like, hey, they're not giving fully guaranteed contracts to the punter, bro. Let's us, the superstar quarterbacks, let's us come together and get some stuff done and say, yo, let's get these fully guaranteed contracts. So that's why I hope happens. It should happen. The NFL makes too much damn money to be sitting there like, oh, we can't pay you. You don't want to pay them. You can. You don't want to. That's why I hope happens. I don't think it's going to happen because I don't think that's Joe Burrow's style. We know it's not Jalen Hurts' style, and I don't know if it's Justin Herbert's style. So, unfortunately, Lamar's probably just going to have to play on that contract and settle for whatever he can get. Unfortunately.
I said the same thing. I'm like, he should have made this call while the season was going on. had this already set up, planned. So by the time the offseason hit, Joe's asking for a fully guaranteed. Justin's asking for a fully guaranteed. Jalen Hurts after the Super Bowl, he probably could have asked for that right after the game was done. Because
Right.
some people talking about, hey, he could be MVP. He almost outdueled Pat Mahomes. That's the only way I thought that this would work for him to get the other major quarterbacks involved for that conversation. Now I think to your point, like you were saying, like with Saquon and them, get as much money as you can now, bro. We don't want a situation, especially being that you're a mobile quarterback. Crazy injury. Now they really don't want to pay you. Get as much as you can right now.
And I commend him for playing last year, but that's why people say you don't play. That's why people say you sit out, because now they're using that against you. If he sat out, a contract would have gotten done. Maybe not the fully guaranteed one, but he would have got. But here's the weird thing, right? The problem with the NFL is if I were to sign somebody to a 7-year, $350 million contract, but 230 of it is guaranteed, but it's voidable after 4 years, well, that's a great contract. But if I just gave somebody a 4-year deal for 230, all of it guaranteed, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. It's the same contract. It's literally the same contract. But the NFL is so big on, we don't want the fully guaranteed. Those two words scare them to death. The fully guaranteed. That's what they don't want. So literally, Lamar Jackson has a better chance of saying, yo, give me 10 years, 500 mil, and just make 240 of it guaranteed. He has a better chance of doing that and getting that than just saying, yo, bro, just give me a 4-year 240. He has and it's just stupid. It's just stupid to me. I get it, because once it's fully guaranteed, you get to play with way more power, blah, 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 blah. And I'm sure they're looking at the NBA and saying, like, yeah, this is why we don't want to do that, because some of these players are wilding over there. I get it, but it's just so ass backwards to me. That's like, we're saying apples and oranges. We're literally saying, yeah, I'll give you more money for more years as long as it's team friendly and I can void it after a certain amount of years. But you're going to get the same amount in your bank account guaranteed. It just can't be fully guaranteed. Like, so I don't know. That's just stupid.
That's where the NFL is at, and they definitely be looking at the NBA like, nah, we don't want no parts of that. Nope.
And honestly, I can't blame them. Some of these players, the way they've been acting, it's. But you know what's crazy for me? I think it could work in the NFL, because you know how the NFL is, man. They gonna make you earn every penny regardless. The problem with the NBA is more has been given and less has been required, right? The NFL, to their credit, the reason why I think it would work is they ain't gonna give that to you. It's like, oh, y'all want fully guaranteed contracts? Bet it up. Now we're playing 2 games a week.
Yup.
Now everybody has a Thursday game and a Sunday game. Ice up, my boy. You know what I mean? Like, so the NFL, they gonna, you know what I mean? If they give fully guaranteed contract, they gonna make them earn it anyway. So I think it'll be fine. The NBA has kind of gotten a little, and I hate to say this because some people are, oh man, what you mean? I'm like, yo, bro, I'm just saying it's business, bro. Let's be real. NBA players today have way less responsibility than they did before. They don't got to play as much. If they don't like to do media, they can easily get out of media. They don't take the All-Star game seriously anymore. Yeah, it's just so much things where they've been given a lot more and been required to do a lot less, to the point where a lot of them, if you do ask them to do something, they're looking at you crazy. Like, how dare you ask me to do my job? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how, you know, to the point where they really feel like their job is just to play. It's like, no, it's not. I'm not paying you
A lot more.
Dude, I'm giving you generational money to play a children's game, bro. Like, yes, you got to do some. There's a lot more to this than just playing, bro. This is a $1 billion corporation that we're trying to keep spinning. If you really think it's just what you do between the lines at 7:30 at night, no, bro, it's more than that. So you got to do more, and I think that's where the NBA kind of messed up, where they've kind of been really lenient with their players on like asking them to do less, but yet they're getting more and more and more and more money. And I think that's what the NFL's afraid of. If we give these guys guaranteed contracts, we're at their mercy. But I also think I know the NFL well enough. They ain't look, boy, we gonna give you this money, you gonna work for it. You gonna pick some more cotton for us. Like you not just gonna get more money and not play on Sundays and not do media and not do it. Like I said, the NFL might be like, oh, we're bet it up. Now we're doing 25 game seasons. What you gonna say about it? Matter of fact, since y'all want this guaranteed money because you want to be NBA players, bet it up. We have an 82 game season. Since y'all want to be the NBA so bad, since y'all want to be the NBA so bad, we gonna have an 82 game season. Like we know the NFL gonna do that. So go ahead and just give them the money, and they'll be better. Everybody will be better for it. So it don't matter.
Facts. Well, this is a great episode. A whole lot in here, a whole lot of knowledge, wisdom. If you looking to do a mock draft, he gave you a lot of tips for your mock draft. A lot of players to watch out for. That's not technically first round because a lot of people just only worry about the first round, but it's 7 rounds and it's a lot. Unlike the NBA, you could get talent fourth.
You build your draft from day 2 and early day 3. That's where the draft is really won. Yeah, the first round guys are usually your superstars, but you really build your team day 2 and early day 3.
That's a complete fact. That's a complete fact. Yo, y'all know the vibes, man. We're on all streaming platforms. We're on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, share with a friend, rate us 5 stars, leave a review. If you stay ready, you don't got to get ready. Bench Mob, we out. Peace.
Deuces, y'all. Appreciate you.